Welcome to our third segment for the trade of the week. And this is again for November 16, 2024. Now, as always, we like to look at the gaps, and we can see there was a gap open on Friday. We didn't have many gaps than the previous days for past week, but I want to go back to the 15 minutes and go back a couple of weeks to see, well, we had this gap, but really this gap filled this gap. And what we have a gap open since November 6th. When we had it right after the election, we had a big gap up. As you can see, this is the gap right there. We've almost filled close to half. We're getting close to half. So will we go back and go to 58.16 to close this gap? So there's a half a gap. Sometimes the markets take a closure from that, but this is just for our gap trades if you want to play that, but also putting your support and resistances. As far as other trade, I've been talking about most of the time when I talk about personal trades is I want to share with you as far as the money management side of things. It's not, a lot of times, yes, we have a buy and hold. If you have a 10, 15-year horizon, you don't have to. But if you have a shorter term horizon, I'm a big advocate of money management. That means taking profits at appropriate times. For instance, this is our Palantir trade, and this was purchased around $12 or so. The first target was 37, second was like at 41, which actually ended up to be 44. So, you take a little bit of profits, and I just took the third profit at around 66 or so. And mm, the reason for taking the profits, it although I missed this opportunity, I could have waited, but you know what? This is a hand side. This is the left side. I don't know what the future is going to bring. In order to sleep calmly at night, it's always good to know you have taken some profits. At the end of the day, it's about making money. So holding to the rest of your position becomes a lot easier because you don't have as much capital at risk, because now you have that capital released to use it for other trades and maybe opportunities. So this has been a great trade and we still have that, but it's always good to have some kind of a closure. And I would do the same thing. This was GBTC, which was really, it was a trust fund before all these ETFs came. And I remember we had a meeting at my house with our team, and it was in January, end of January. And I did mention, it might be a good time to get involved a little bit with the Bitcoin. And what you can see, let me see if this is better here. Yeah. So I just sold some. We got it at around 22. We sold some at 71 or so on Friday. So, that was like 380% or whatever. It was a good sale. But before that, I had some short-term sales. And this was the reason. So you can see I took some, this is not exact. Had 200, took like 50, and right around here, I lightened up, and after that, you can see the markets came down because I had bought it below all these clouds. So then um, I waited and I reduced my position again right around here. And as soon as I sold it, the markets came down and they just stayed down. This is for the year 2022. You can see they were just below the cloud. So what happened? I took some nice profit, 40, 30, 40, 50%, 40% on this trade, and basically gave me that uh, comfort of knowing that, I don't have as much at risk. So obviously, if I was, on the hand side, I would say, why did you sell all that position when you knew you could quadruple it or, triple it? But it is called money management. So I hope that is helpful for you. ETF of the week, we had Argentina. The ETF was up 5.7%. On the other hand, we talked about biotech. XBI was down 10.4%. They're under pressure. Also, energy exploration was up. We talked about energy, 2.5%, and semiconductors, XSD, was down 9%. One of the things we talked about is the biotechnology ETF. Look, what after announcements of RFK, look at this huge drops. I mean, this is big. Obviously, the vaccination companies like Pfizer and we have the Biogen and Amgen, but you have to look at how much of the especially in the pharmaceutical, how much is coming from, let's say, vaccination. Pfizer has been under so much pressure. Is this justified, or is it a good opportunity to look into these companies because they've had a big sell-off? And what we look at on expected move, look at this huge. I mean, it's like 4 standard deviation minimum outside what the expected move was. And I looked at it weekly, so we can see IBB is in a squeeze, and we are hitting the lower edge of the 2 standard deviation or the negative 2 standard deviation on a weekly basis. So now let's see if we can get closure. So follow the daily and 60 minutes for this. Stock of the week, okay, Amazon. You can see it did go outside its expected move, hit its 52 weeks high, and then we closed right on the lower edge of expected move. As far as last week, we talked about Tesla, huge move after the election, especially, and big gap up. We just filled the second, we've had 3 gaps. The third gap was filled, but we are above our turning and standard line. So that could be your support. And we are above these thin clouds. As far as PayPal, which was one of our recommendations, we see that on a monthly basis, we close above the turning line. Now we are closing above standard line, and that bodes well. Also, on a 60 minutes, you see PayPal hit the upper edge of the cloud. So we'll see if that holds. The DMI, they're kissing each other, but it's about to move higher. So that might give us another chance of maybe adding to our position. Although the 10-minute and 30 minutes, they're kind of neutral. They're both inside the cloud, but our daily is positive. The weekly has been positive since we actually recommended it. We can see we've been above the turning line and above the cloud. So it has had a nice move. So there's a good possibility to come and kiss this turning line and standard line. The objective could be $96 for 92 to 96 for PayPal. As far as Twilio, that was another recommendation. It has had a huge move with a big gap after earnings. So we're having a little consolidation. On a monthly, for the second month, we have broken above the turning and standard line, and we can see the DMI positive has crossed the negative. So these are all positives, but this has been really parabolic. So we need some kind of a rest like this consolidation. But 60 minutes still above the cloud. But the short term, we are negative on 10 and neutral on 30 minutes. And Lulu, the same story. Lulu has actually come to neutral position. It had a resistance on the lower edge of the cloud, but now we have entered. The weekly has crossed as far as the DMI positive, so that's positive. But again, Friday we had a sell-off, and basically we still positive above the cloud. We are above the standard line, turning line. We do have a positive slope on the cloud on the 60 minutes, but the negative DMI on 60 minutes has crossed, and we are below the turning and the standard line. So let's see if we can find the support in that 315 area. All right, so scan for the squeezes. I thought we will do just NASDAQ 100. There was about five stocks came out. They're pretty familiar names. Last week we had, this is amazing. Last week we still had earnings, obviously, and only 180 moved up and 510 they moved down. 259 positive results, 211 negative, but only 38 positive forward guidance versus 58 and negative. One of the companies that did it was Shopify and had a big move, and they beat expectations. Kava also beat expectation, had a huge move. As you recall, this was recommendation when it was like 67, 68. I think went and hit like 160 something after earnings, and then we've actually come down. We're at 141. So it did beat expectations. Disney missed it, but it still was up. So, but important this week, we still got some important ones. Number one is Nvidia coming after close on Wednesday, but we also have a lot of retails such as Target, TJ Maxx, we have Walmart, we have Ross Stores, we have Gap Inc. Technology side, we have Intuit, and Neo, the car, we have Lowe's. So pay attention. It will be interesting to see these retail right before Thanksgiving, what they have to say. Some volatility ones that if you want to play, like Neo and PDD, and then the big one again, of course, coming up is Nvidia, Walmart, Palo Alto, Networking, Target, Workhorse Group, as I mentioned, Neo and Symbotic. So anyway, I hope that's helpful. I wish you a wonderful weekend and week ahead till we talk to you on next meeting. Take care.